Hello, and thank you for joining me on this Pure Hypnosis podcast. This is Sean Wheeler once again. Today we're going to be talking about public speaking. Now, public speaking is something that I personally in my past have some experience with. For those of you who have not read the extensive profiles of me and biographies that I put on my website, being modest as I am, you'd find out that I am a broadcast journalism graduate from the University of Miami. While I was there, I had some experience working on television as a reporter, as a news anchor, and then upon graduating, I moved to Atlanta originally to work for CNN. And while I was with CNN, I had some experience working during live shows, live studio shows with live studio audiences, as well as working behind the camera and in a closed studio for some shows that were recorded ahead of time. And at roughly the same time, I became involved in an improv comedy theater group where I got a lot of exposure on stage in front of live audiences as an actor and also as a host, a director, an MC, in front of a couple hundred people doing a live improv comedy show where you really don't know what you're going to say next. You just have to go out there and take what the audience gives you and turn it into comedy. So it was during those times when I was first getting my feet wet and really getting comfortable on stage that I pursued hypnotherapy myself. Picked up a book on it, started reading a little bit about hypnosis, remembered some stage hypnosis shows that I had seen in college, thought it was interesting, and I gave it a shot. And it was something that helped me to feel more relaxed, to feel more confident on a stage, in a studio, in situations where I knew people would be watching me. So, I do come from a place where I can relate to. If you happen to have a fear, or if you happen to experience some anxiety, even when you're just introducing yourself at a business meeting or meeting some new people who you've never met before, it could be anything. I can relate to those feelings. I can relate to those butterflies that you get somewhere in your stomach, or the heart flutter that you feel in your chest, or the sweaty palms. These are all things that I used to experience myself. And in dealing with them appropriately, I've now put myself in a position where I pretty much feel comfortable anywhere. And I think that's a great thing. I think that's what everyone should experience. I think that you should be able to look forward to really enjoy opportunities to speak in front of people. Because most of the time, the situation is that you're being asked to speak because you have something to offer. But the big problem is that before we get into these situations, a lot of us tend to psych ourselves out. The little conversations we have with ourselves in our minds, or the things that we visualize or imagine happening, cause these feelings of anxiety to enter into our bodies, cause our mouths to dry up and our hands to sweat, our heart to beat a little bit too quickly. And that has the effect of causing us to flub up our words, to mess up what we're going to say, and to be too aware of things that we don't need to be aware of. I'll give you an example of what I mean by how you talk to yourself can really influence your performance. Now, just a few years ago, I had the opportunity to perform for a special event at the Fox Theater right in downtown Atlanta. And it was by far the biggest crowd, the biggest audience that I'd ever been in front of in my entire life. A crowd of about 2,000 to 3,000 people filling up a really huge, beautiful auditorium. It was a big event. And my responsibility that night was as the MC, was as the host. I was interacting with the crowd, I was presenting performers, and being that it was the first time that I'd been in front of a crowd of that size, I think it's pretty natural to expect a little bit of butterflies, a little bit of jitters. So when I experienced a little bit of those feelings prior to going out on stage the first time, I told myself that it was natural, and I got my own confidence up to where it needed to be by telling myself that, you know what, things are going to go well. You've spoken in front of groups before. They're going to love you. And I recalled those times in my past, whether it was at CNN, whether it was in front of a crowd at a comedy show where I'd been successful. And I ran those memories through my mind, and I remembered people laughing at me at the appropriate times. And I remembered being successful in those situations and how good it felt. So when I walked out on the stage, those memories produced positive feelings, meaning you can't be anxious and you can't have feelings of anxiety and you can't be nervous and stressed and have your palms sweat unless you're thinking about, imagining, or accessing memories, pictures, words in your own mind of times and places where you actually felt that way. So you can think about times in the past when you'd been nervous, and that will produce those same nervous feelings. Or you can think about times in the past when you felt confident, when you've been very comfortable, and that is going to produce the same feelings. So, learning what I had learned gave me an opportunity to really avoid making a huge mistake. And I'll tell you why I'm laughing a little bit, because after I'd done my duty on this particular night, I thought at this point my job was over. From what the stage manager was telling me, I was backstage, my job was done, the show was moving on. I was just about ready to go home. In fact, I had already taken off my microphone. But the stage manager came back up to me, guy wearing the big headset, and he had his notebook in front of him, and he was talking to the producer somewhere in a control room. And he came and he grabbed me and he said, "Hey, we need you to go out there and do 5 more minutes." And I thought, okay, no problem. I'll go ahead and do what I've been doing, and I'll give out some prizes to the people in the audience, and I'll ask some more questions, and I'll do this and that. And he said, no. You can't do that. We need everyone to remain in their seats because we're about to get started with the portion of the show where they all need to be seated and the aisles need to be cleared. And I thought to myself, okay, then I guess I'll do something else. And at this point, he said to me, "And we need you to go out there in about 10 seconds. And he hands me a microphone. And he literally, just like you'd see in the movies, he starts pushing me out toward the direction of the stage. Like, we need you to go out there right now and kill 5 minutes, and we don't know what you're going to do. Now, in the past, I have to admit, this is something that would have thrown me off. The butterflies would have come flying, and I really don't know what I would have said. I might have freezed up if I hadn't had the experience that I have gained in my years. And what I did was I grabbed that microphone, and as I walked out on stage, I thought to myself in my mind, I said, you know what? This is going to be fine. I walked out there, I started talking to the crowd, and without going into too much detail, I basically trusted myself. I went over and I went back to the things, the tricks in my bag that I knew had worked for me in the past. And I didn't think about how much time had passed. I wasn't paying attention to a clock. I didn't look over one time to the stage manager back behind the curtain to find out if I had killed enough time or whether it was time to go back and be finished. I did what I did. I got the audience pumped up, and I went backstage. And as I walked back, the guy looked at me and he had a big smile on his face, and he said, "Wow, that was 5 minutes exactly." And I smiled. And the thing is that situation, which for many people would be paralyzing, and some people probably wouldn't even go out there, and the show would come to a stop. And I'm not knocking that, because that's a natural response to have. In fact, if you're listening to this podcast, there's a good likelihood that you've been in situations before that have scared you or have caused you to freeze up, at least to some degree. So it's not that I don't understand that. It's that you can get through that reaction. You can get through that response. The fact that you're having it doesn't mean that it can't change. So me personally, being able to speak in front of groups, being able to perform comedy in front of live audiences, and also being able to do presentations and, to expand and grow my business, these are things that to me were very appealing. I said, you know what, the things that scare you the most, these are the things that are often the most fun to do, the most fun things to conquer, and it is. So here's how it works. If anybody comes to me, a client comes to me and approaches me about a fear of public speaking, what I'm going to do for that individual, what I'm going to do for you, is to teach you how to think, not only when you're just about to speak, but also leading up to it, when you're at home and you're preparing your presentation, while you're sitting in your office, while you're in your car and you're on your way to the meeting. All these moments and all these times when you're thinking about that presentation, you're thinking about that engagement, we're going to help you change it to where even thinking about it makes you feel good, makes you feel excited about doing it, helping you to access those thoughts, to access those pictures in your mind, to access those memories that are going to produce the good feelings that allow you to feel, honestly, as comfortable in front of a group as you feel in front of your best friend. And I would be happy to help you learn to enjoy speaking in front of people as much as I do. Thanks for joining me on this Pure Hypnosis podcast. I'm Sean Wheeler.